Super. Okay. So today we'll have a very interesting presentation of two solutions, and they are working very well together, each of them being one of the best solution in their area. And together they are covering even better the cybersecurity needs of a company. I'll let David and Mustafa to introduce themselves, and I think we can start the presentation. Thank you very much for everyone which is connected in this webinar. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is David Higgs. I am the Senior Security Solution Engineer for Rapid7 for the region. I've been working for Rapid7 about 2 years and cover the whole of the Rapid7 portfolio. And I'll hand it over to Mustafa.
Thanks, David. Hi guys, Mustafa, Solutions Engineer here at Automox. So I cover the EMEA region, and I basically present demos, but also try to ensure that POVs, trials are successful. So if you decide to proceed with us, you'll probably be dealing with me quite a lot.
Super.
Excellent.
David, shall you start with presentation?
Absolutely. Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
I just want to say, if anyone wants to put a question, can write it in chat or Q&A area, and either we'll answer online or we'll answer in writing after.
Perfect. Okay, so I wanted to start by just posing a few questions. So firstly, when we think about the landscape at the moment and what IT and security leaders are thinking about when it comes to cybersecurity and their patch management, some of the thoughts that are going through their mind right now, some of the things that they're aware of that are coming down the line, for instance, DORA, which is very current, NIS2, which is up and coming, wanting to have more awareness around that. Patching, obviously, that's one of the main focuses of this webinar. Is something that is at the front of people's minds at the moment. Visibility, and then also what the threat actors are doing, and all of these other kind of things that I've mentioned here. And so with that, I wanted to focus on some data that was from the Rapid7 ransomware radar report. And this is available on the Rapid7 website. So we focused on approximately 2,500 incidents over the course of the first half of this year. On average, there were about 14 publicly announced ransomware attacks per day. 41 groups posted on their leak sites, and 21 new or rebranded ransomware groups surfaced in the first half of this year. What that amounted to was these initial access vectors. So it's a very interesting breakdown here. We see 41% was made up of misconfigured or non-configured multi-factor authentication. So that's on SaaS platforms, VPNs as well, for example. That was a method of initial access for threat actors. Now we see making up 30% of that was vulnerability exploitation. This is going to be our key focus of today. But I will touch on some of these other things. But if we look at this, 41%, 30%, and if we include phishing as well, this makes up over 80% of initial access vectors. So 3 key areas, and we can do quite a bit to address these. Going into some of the widely exploited vulnerabilities, this is what we've tracked over the first half of this year. So Microsoft, we had the SharePoint server, CVE, that was widely exploited. Ivanti, Atlassian, Cisco, ASA appliances. This was quite an old vulnerability, as you see here, back from 2020. ConnectWise, Fortinet, and again, another Microsoft SharePoint. But you can see all of these vulnerabilities, 2023, there's one here from 2024. And then, yes, we have this Cisco ASA one, which was from 2020. These are reports available on the Rapid7 website. So please make sure you go and check them out. Also, the emergent threats blog will give you up-to-date information of emerging threats. So good vulnerability management program means that hackers will focus elsewhere. If we look at those vulnerabilities that were widely exploited, hackers at the moment are following, I would say, like a spray and pray kind of approach. Yes, you do have some targeted attacks that are more kind of nation state level, but in the instance where you have a widely exploited vulnerability, they're going to attempt to exploit as many customers as possible. It's less targeted at a specific customer, but more targeted at the software specifically. And so I've got here examples of 3 different customers and their vulnerability management programs. Now, it's really important to say that all of these customers are using the same tool. The difference is the maturity level of using that tool. So when I log into a customer environment, immediately I'm looking for these trends to say, okay, the light blue line here, does it move independently of the dark blue line, which is the assets line? So we have vulnerabilities in blue, and then assets is the dark line here. Now, what I want to see when I go into a customer environment is this. So we see here the vulnerabilities line is moving up and down like this, and this shows a consistent effort towards patching. We have organization number 1, for example, and we see here the vulnerabilities line more or less tracks in line with the assets. They're not really doing much in the way of patching. Organization 2, they're doing some patching, but it's sporadic. They will go a few months and then go, oh my God, we got so many vulnerabilities, we need to patch. And then they'll let it creep up again. And then they say, oh my God, we need to patch. And you see they patch again. It's really organization number 3 that has got the mature processes around patching, because we can see that it happens more often. And so what I'm getting at from this is it's not necessarily the having the tool in place that drives down that risk. It's everything you have around operationalizing that tool that leads to reduced risk. So we are surfacing what you will see here at the top. So your vulnerabilities, your incidents, your technical debt, malicious activity, and then what drives it is how the tooling is deployed, how you integrate that into your processes, the behavior, the training, the strategy, the organizational culture. So let's get into how does it work. With InsightVM, this is our vulnerability management platform. We follow a strategy of having both network-based scanning and agent-based scanning. And what this does is it gives you full coverage of your environment. The agents deployed on the endpoints will give you coverage whether the endpoint is inside the network, or if the user is working from home, we will still get vulnerability data back from their device as well. Now, we also deploy the console within your environment. This keeps all of your vulnerability data in your environment nice and safe, and the scan engines will scan locally. So if you've had someone deploy a device that was not known to IT, for example, we would discover it. We would also discover devices that potentially you can't install an agent on. So things like network devices, firewalls, printers as well, to name a few. And then we would authenticate to all of those device types, do an in-depth scan to give you really reliable information on those vulnerabilities. and then populate that in the vulnerability database. How it works when we connect to Automox. So we would harvest data with InsightVM across your network. We would then contextualize it in our platform so that you knew what you need to prioritize first. What is the most risky asset in terms of contextual risk? So I don't just mean CVSS score here. I'm talking about what other factors come into it to say that you are going to more likely to be exploited. And the example I would use here is if you could imagine you've left your phone in your car, and now how likely is your phone to be stolen? Well, that depends on where your car is parked, right? So if your car is parked in a quiet area, maybe you live in a nice quiet area, um, who's going to see the phone? The postman, the Amazon delivery driver. But let's say your car is parked in a bad area of town, then it's more likely to be stolen because there's more people walking past, more bad intentioned people potentially. Now, what CVSS scoring will tell you is how hard the window is to break, which is exactly the same whether your car is parked outside your house or in the bad area of town. What Rapid7 are doing is we're supplying you all of that other contextual information. Things like from the Metasploit community, how likely is a exploit to be used because it's in the Metasploit framework. It's exploitable by novice attackers. It's a really reliable exploit to use. This would increase the risk factor. Other things like our emergent threat teams would then also feed into that data to say this vulnerability is being widely exploited. And so we give you a risk score that is out of 1,000 that provides you that more contextual data in your environment. Now, what you can do from there is you can integrate with Automox. So we provide our API, Automox tap into that, and then they will harvest the data accordingly. And I'll leave Mustafa to explain more on that a bit later on. And then finally, our new Surface Command platform will also integrate with Automox. So we will be able to see things like agent coverage across the environment. We will be able to see harvest information as well back from Automox to give you that full view on your attack surface. So let's dive into the InsightVM platform. Here I've landed on the assets page. Immediately I can see things like assets that have been assessed. Now, I'm also showing you assets that have an agent and assets that don't have an agent. So these were discovered by our network scanner. And this has an agent installed, so we are harvesting data accordingly. The other information that we're providing straight away is we're giving you the risk on an asset. So we can see some quite large risk scores here, and we'll dive into that in a second. We can see the number of vulnerabilities, if there's any malware kits available, and if there's any exploits available from the Metasploit community. So let me dive into one of these assets. Let's go into this one, for example. So you see here the contextual information that we're providing back on the asset. We have the ability to add custom tags, which really helps with linking assets back to business owners, business unit owners, in order to drive that accountability when it comes to patching. We give you a risk score on the asset. We also give you a context-driven risk score. So this asset has been flagged as very high. So we are effectively doubling the original risk score so that you would prioritize this asset above other assets. We can see the overall trends on the asset over time. And then we also see the vulnerabilities here. Now we can see here an example. We've got CVSS scores on the left, And then we have our contextual risk score, which is out of 1000 on the right here. And then this risk score here would then be added up to provide us with this risk score. Now I can see one of these, sorry, two of them have Metasploit payloads available. And if I was to click on that, we can see the modules. And if I want to, I can actually go off to the Metasploit website and view the exploit itself, giving me more information in order for me to make a more informed decision. And we can see here how to use that Metasploit module. We then provide you with dashboards that allow you to get that top level view across your environment. So here we have our vulnerability management dashboard. We can see vulnerability findings by date, by CVSS score. So we can see those ones that are older than 90 days who have a critical CVE. So this is my highest area of focus, but you might want to do that by Rapid7's risk score as well. We can see assets running obsolete operating systems. These are the ones we want to get swapped out. For example, Rapid7 know that from our scanning across the internet at the moment, that approximately half of all the Windows servers on the internet right now are server 2012, which went end of life in October 2023. So this is something that you might also want to be aware of. Assets by operating system, and then some other nice kind of graphics we can see. And this can be configured how you wish. We can see here, we can add in some goal and SLA cards as well, for example. Now, when it comes to creating remediation projects, what we can do here is we can define our specific scope. So I can come in here and we can create a new project. And I can define a specific scope that is important to me and my organization. So let's say I want to say vulnerability risk score is greater or equal to 900, for example. So this is the top 10% of vulnerabilities. And then maybe I want to add some more scope to that. So let's say software product contains Cisco. And we see here we have 26 assets, 137 vulnerabilities, and just 93 solutions. So I go continue. We can assign to particular users if we wish to then follow up on that. We can set a due date. So I could make that next month, for example. We've also got the ability to integrate into ticketing solutions. So if you have ServiceNow or Jira, we integrate with those out of the box, and I can then send that data to your ticketing solution to then pick up and follow through with Automox. And then we can review and continue that. I'm going to cancel that now, and we're just going to go into an example where we can see the progress on a remediation project. So this query is around Patch Tuesday. And then what I am doing is I'm sorting by risk reduction. So you can think of these as items of work. We can see the assets affected, the number of vulnerabilities, and I can prioritize by risk reduction. So this is going to give me the most reward for the least work, essentially. I can go into here, we can see the assets affected, see the solution, which would be applied through Automox. We have the assets here and the vulnerabilities that will be fixed. And over time, we can actually track these as goals and SLAs. So for example, let's go into a goal and SLA that has some detail in it. So we can see the number of vulnerability instances, and what you will see in a production solution is the number of vulnerabilities reduced over time. And then we can see here all of our solutions, and if we want, we can actually create a remediation project from that goal or SLA. So I've shown you some of the features on InsightVM. We've also have policies, so if you wish, you can set up policies around CIS benchmarks as well to go off and audit in your environment. But what I would like to show you just before I finish up is our Surface Command platform and how we are auditing across your environment. So what we're doing here is we are connecting in lots of information sources that you see here to give you that full coverage. So with Rapid7, you get coverage from your vulnerability management perspective. You also got Automox covering you for patch management. But let's say you've got other agents that you are unaware of, have not been rolled out to other devices. Well, we would show you those visibility gaps using other tools within your environment. So we would ingest data from Active Directory, from your cloud environment. So let's say you have Microsoft Azure and you've got virtual machines deployed there, as well as ingesting data from, let's say, the InsightVM console, which has scanned the network accordingly. And so what we would then end up with, if you just give me a moment to log into our exposure command environment, what we end up with here in our homepage is full visibility across your environment. So when it comes to those ransomware, those initial access vectors, then we can come back to here and say, okay, we can see identities with multi-factor enabled across the environment. Most importantly, we can see ones which are not. We can also see assets with vulnerabilities assessed and ones which have not been assessed. And then assets with endpoint security, which would cover the vulnerability exploitation as well as phishing. Starting with our external attack surface, we see the environment as an attacker would see it. So we would add seed assets. So these are IP addresses and domains. And then we can then go through and see some associated discoveries. So for instance, I can see here port 22 is now open on this, this IP address. And then we can then follow it through to our assets or identities section. So for example, I can see here across my environment, all of the different solutions that are connecting in, we're getting that contextual information and correlation. So I have correlated this asset across different environments, as you can see here. And then that allows me to go and ask certain questions, if you like, about the environment. So I could find out, are there any users who are administrators who do not have multi-factor deployed, for example? So we see here, multi-factor is not deployed. They are an administrator. And also I'm ingesting data from KnowBe4, so we can see if they've failed any phishing attempts over the past 6 months. So this hopefully gives you a nice overview of vulnerability management, but also attack surface management at a very top high level as well. And I'm conscious that I do need to hand over to Mustafa now. So thanks for listening to me, and I will pass the baton over to Mustafa.
Thanks, David. All right, let's head over to my screen. Get rid of that. All right, let's go through the Automox platform. So when you log into your Automox dashboard, this is where you'll come. It gives you mostly high-level information, but it does give you important information, mostly, I think, over here on the right-hand side, because this information is important as far as your SLAs are concerned. SLAs, as far as patching, are mostly concerned with severity ratings, which is over here on the left-hand side of this grid, and the amount of time it takes you to patch them, which is covered on the top of this grid right here. And you can see that we are capable of deploying to multiple different types of operating system as well. The most important thing that we're interested in, of course, is the patching. Now, of course, we will get to the integration with Rapid7, but in order to get to the integration with Rapid7, I'd like to show you the components which make up that integration. And those two components are, number one, our automated patching, and number two, the worklets. And using those two, we will finally get to the remediations piece in the end, which uses both of those components as part of the feature. So right here, we are in the patching, the page where we select the kind of patching that we want. You can see that you can create different kinds of config here. I'm going to get started with a patch all so you can see how this works. By the way, patch all specifically means patch the operating system and patch those third-party applications supported by Automox. I want to show you something quite important first, which is I want to show you a statistic. It's actually a Rapid7 threat score. If I move that slightly to the left, you can see here that this is a Rapid7 threat score. This was provided to us, you can see actually, in the last month. Someone who had been measuring their threat score over time, you can see here, this is a Rapid7 score of 1 million. 1 million from June through July, through August. And then on September the 2nd, something important happens. And what is that important thing? That is that they start patching using Automox. So they're patching their operating system and their third-party applications. And you can see within 1 week, up to the 9th of September, that their score decreases from just under 1 million, there, to 65,000. And that was a 93% reduction in the score. So I see a raised hand, so feel free to ask your question now if you'd like to ask.
Hi, sorry for the interruption. I wonder how automation on patching cope with system stability and availability and everything else.
Well, system availability in terms of being online is a massive part for us because we are a cloud platform. So you need to be online for our backend to be able to send you the patch updates. The other question you asked is system stability. The truth is, what we care about is if your operating system is compatible, and I can send you a list of the operating systems that we have, and the device is online. As far as system stability, that's not something we measure. Okay, as long as our agent is running on your platform, that's all that really we care about. System stability.
Yeah, my question was a little bit deeper. I mean, this game for some years now, and it was not just once that an update on the operating system had, let's call it at least, tremendous negative impact on the application hosted on that system. So there is a need of separate testing until patching and so on.
Understood. The way that we approach this is we show people, especially those teams that have got servers, we show them an approach, a use case where they can basically create two different patches. one of them specifically aimed at the testing devices. And then we have a filter, and I'll show you the filter shortly. And the filter allows them to send out only those applications of a certain age. In other words, up to the age where the testing applications.
Something like a staged release or a staged application to the target systems.
Correct. So it allows you to ensure that the only applications sent to the production list of devices are those that were sent to the test devices, let's say 1 week before or 2 weeks before, whatever your buffer period is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Understood.
Okay, so just to finish off here, you can see the massive decrease in threat score or risk score right here, and that was done entirely through patching using Automox. So now we are back in the patching page. So important for us to see what exactly is this patching approach that we take. All you have to do is create the patching config. Here, I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly because I don't want the config to be the star of the show. But we come in here, we answer 3 questions, which is number 1, which type of applications do you want to patch? In this case, we're doing a patch all. We need to answer a couple of additional small questions here. Do you want the optional recommended Windows updates to be installed? That's a yes/no answer. And then we decide which devices we want to patch, okay? And that is done here in the groups page, the groups selection. So once we select our devices, you see there I've got 12 devices. If you want to be more granular after that, so you want to target specific devices, that's where you can use the device targeting config box beneath. And you can see that we've got a few options for you to use for that granularity. You can go for a specific operating system, for example. Let's go for Windows. And, if I hit that, I'll see a preview of my devices to ensure that I'm hitting exactly those devices that I want. And then we've got the schedule. So the schedule is important because, as mentioned, just with the earlier question, you're likely going to create more than one patch policy. So even if you create a patch all, a lot of the time, patch all is going to be done monthly. And in between your patch alls, it's going to be important, as far as your SLAs are concerned, to hit different kinds of patches, which is going to be, for example, your critical patches. Okay, so if we come back up to the top, you might want to patch by severity. So let's say you're doing your patch alls something like monthly. So you'll probably do your patch all, let's say, on the 3rd Saturday of the month, just like that. But then you'll want to ensure that your criticals are patched much more often. You may wish to patch your criticals, twice a week, or even 3 times a week, or maybe even every single day. So the schedule allows you to do that by creating more than one policy. Okay, so that's the patching config. You've also got some additional config that you can make use of here. You can see here user notifications. This is going to be important with regards to how many times the user gets to delay the patch going through in the end user notification. So you see here, you've got install notifications and restart notifications. And most importantly, these are the deferral options you can get right here. We can decrease the number of deferrals options that they get from 1 to 10. So if you wanted to be very aggressive in your security posture, you would, for example, reduce that to a 1. We're going to come back up to the top just to look at some of these other alternatives that we've got. We've done patch all. You can also do patch only. So you can be very granular in terms of your approach. Granularity right here, you can either select from the applications in front of you or type in the name of an application and select it like that. You do have a manual approval, which is a patch all process. The difference is the only reason we send something out is because you approve it in the manual approvals page, where you would select them one by one, just like that, and then push them out. And without you doing that, nothing is actually sent out. And only one more to look at, which is advanced. And this allows you to do a little bit more granularity. You can specify the vendor that you want to download from, selecting any of these options. I'm going to select Windows Update there. I'm only patching the operating system. You can select the category of Windows Update you want to update. Here, I'm going to go for security updates. Nothing other than a security update will be patched when I select that. And the one I mentioned earlier, which is patch age. So if we were to, let's say, patch our test devices on the 2nd Tuesday of the month, and then I create another policy 1 week later on the 3rd, and I'm going to include that patch age of 7. That way, nothing that is released after the 2nd will be sent to those production devices, because we've already considered that as part of the filter that we've included right here. As mentioned, that is the first part of the remediations feature, our integration with Rapid7, which is really important. The other one is the worklets. There's nothing groundbreaking about this feature. It's basically a fancy name for a shell script. But the important thing here is that you can see here, we've got the user interface is the same. So we've got groups, device targeting. If we scroll down, we've got a schedule, so you can automate these to happen on a regular basis. Then we've got the actual code itself, the blocks for the code. We've got two blocks, by the way, because the top one is to check if a condition exists. So you define that condition in the text. For example, is Minecraft installed on this device? If you don't want to use that, you can just type in an exit one and use what's beneath. I want to show you something. Alex, you've got a question, please feel free. Maybe you didn't have a question. I'll move on.
Hello, do you
Yes.
hear me?
Go ahead.
Like I have compared with another cloud tool. Do you have a control center of the events?
Control center of the what?
Of the events.
Okay, yes, indeed. We've got the reports. So in this case, we've got a high-level view and a low-level view. We'll have a quick look at the policy results report. But low-level, more detail is in the activity log. So you can see right here, this is the output of all of our interactions with the device. So for example, if I want to check, these are all successes, but what I want is really the failures. So if I come in here, you can see that we've output update of Zoom failed, and more importantly, we've got the error code right there. If you were looking for a more high-level output, you can see right here in the policy results report, it's giving me color-coded.
The blocked ones.
Sorry?
You have only results, but I mean
You're looking for like the event?
Yes, like blocked the web access for an endpoint in that specific network.
Understood. The event viewer type feature is something that we've got planned. We don't currently have it.
Understood. Thank you.
Let's head back here. So I just wanted to show you one more thing with regards to the worklets, which is that we do have a resource called the worklet catalog, which is very useful. We've got hundreds of these pre-written worklets ready to use out of the box, and they are in a variety of categories. You can see, first of all, if I scroll down here, they are in a variety of operating systems and categories. So we've got a huge number of these. When I joined, we had about 200 of these, and I joined about 18 months ago. We've now got over 360. And I just want to show you really quickly some of the more useful ones so you can get an idea of what they are. I'm going to type in MA demo. You see right here, we've got config ones, forensics ones to grab logs with, manual tasks if you're still doing manual tasks yourself, operating system ones. I hear rave reviews about these, especially the upgrade from Windows 10 to 11. Security ones to disable USB storage or enforce BitLocker. And then we've got ones which fix vulnerabilities. And this is important because it's going to be one of the ways that our integration with Rapid7 works, because you can't fix all vulnerabilities using software updates. Ideally you could, but unfortunately you can't. So many of them you can fix using these worklets, which are again ready to use. So really simple ability to grab those that have already been written. Now let's head to the remediations, which is the integration that we've got with Rapid7. We don't care about this manual integration. What we care about is the automated one, where if we scroll down, we can add that new integration with Rapid7. We just select Rapid7 and then grab the API key, which is right here, select the region, give it a name, and you've got yourself the integration. It's very simple to set up. And you can see here every day at the same time, 1:01 p.m. on the 22nd, 23rd, we are grabbing the report from Rapid7 and we are bringing it. So once you hit view report, you are going to see exactly what's going on your infrastructure. You can see we've got 3 tabs here. The tab on the right is the least useful one. It's just telling you about devices which are in your Rapid7 report, but which we do not recognize. So you might want to add those devices to your Automox platform. The left-hand tab and the middle tab are the more important tabs. The left-hand tab is called patchable vulnerabilities. So the name is telling you that those vulnerabilities can be fixed using a software update. The middle tab, you can see just under where it says Rapid7 Solutions, it says unmatched vulnerabilities. Unmatched to what? They are not matched to any software update because there is no vendor telling us we fix this particular CVE. So we leave them in this column. It doesn't mean we can't fix them. We can still fix many of these using using a worklet, and we'll look at that shortly. Let's concentrate on the left-hand tab right now. So if we scroll down, we should see 3 entries, which is what we've got. We give you some additional information, what devices these are on, what CVEs they are, and then if it requires a reboot and any severity rating. The most important thing here, though, is that we have already prepared the applications. In this case, this is a Windows update. So is this one. This is Firefox. They are prepared, ready to go out. All that you have to do to fix them is to hit that remediate button right there, automated from start to finish. Let's head over to the middle tab. The middle tab is not automated from start to finish. There are a couple of additional manual steps. If we scroll down, you can see that there is an additional entry right here, which is called Fix Details. This is another part of the integration with Rapid7. It's where we grab the information for how you fix the software update, for how you fix the vulnerability. It gives you an instruction. What you do then is you go back to the worklet page, follow the instruction to create that worklet. You can also make use of our AI assistant. Maybe it can help you write that code. And once you've added it to your library, you can hit remediate with worklet, select the one you prepared earlier. Let's say it's this one, and then hit the remediate button, after which it's automated to push out to the identified devices once again. So the aim behind both of these tabs, the left-hand tab and the middle tab, is to help you spend less time finding out how to fix the vulnerabilities and ultimately to fix them as soon as possible so you can get onto other important issues in your day. Obviously, we didn't have a huge amount of time to cover that, but please feel free, and I can see, Alex, you actually got a question, so feel free to kind of jump in and ask that question.
What types of anti-phishing controls do you have implemented? Because I do not see any of this in the presentation.
Did you say phishing controls?
Anti-phishing controls, yes.
Phishing controls. I mean,
like if we implement this solution, what benefits of those social engineering we have?
I'm going to be honest. In terms of anti-phishing, we've just got standard security controls for access to the platform. So I don't know that we've really got any specific anti-phishing controls as part of Automox.
Understood. Thank you.
I can see more hands raised. By the way, I wasn't told different names on there, so I just see hands raised. Feel free to just jump in and ask.
Madeline speaking. I have two questions. Just a second. I have two questions. They are a little bit high-level ones. One, why does Rapid7 need you for automation, for page management? This is the first question. I mean, the question is for Rapid7, not you. Why Rapid7 is proposing the Automox bundling for page management? And the second question is for you. What does it make you different from other vendors that are doing page management, or other options for page management that are available for leading vulnerability management vendors?
Yep. Okay. So I could probably take part of that. So yes, you're absolutely right. Rapid7 do integrate with other patch management vendors. Some of those are more kind of particular technology focus. So for instance, SCCM, it's very Microsoft focused because it is a Microsoft product. Big Fix as well, for example. Automox has a really deep level of integration with Rapid7 products. It's one of only a few that integrate directly with our API. And I would say they've probably got the best overall coverage across different technology stacks as well. We've got many successful use case customers with Automox and a great working relationship. So this is why we do recommend Automox as an integrator with our vulnerability management platform. As to why do we need a patch management solution? Often it's the case that when you're coming to a customer to talk about vulnerability management, some of these customers may already have patch management solutions in place, and so InsightVM is kind of agnostic to that. But in the instances where you want that kind of full picture around automation within your vulnerability management process, then yes, that in these instances, like we would partner with Automox, and really, this is why we're kind of showcasing the technology today. Mustafa, I don't know if you want to add to any of that as well.
I mean, the adding to it consists in the kind of additional question, which was why, let's say, Automox compared to other patch management solutions. And the answers that we would usually give are, first of all, we're one of the few entirely cloud-based patch management solutions. So other ones, you'll still have to have either an on-premise device or you'll need to maintain a cloud server, right? So that's a load of work for you. With us, you literally just need to get our agent on those devices. Obviously, we've got the automated integration with Rapid7. So as far as the vulnerability management, I don't know that there's anyone else who can offer automated vulnerability management. And the final thing is, in terms of the ease of use of Automox, you can see our platform is really easy to use. And it's a frequent reason for people moving over to us because they don't want to go through the complexity of teaching new recruits how to use Qualys, how to use Manage Engine, and all of these platforms, because it's really tough to maintain the knowledge and to actually teach it to other people as well.
Does that answer your question?
Okay, but yeah, one of the biggest issue in the security profession is patch management. That's why I joined the call and I invited others in Romanian community to enter. I said partially because my question, the second question is the following, because my experience on InsightVM is limited. Question: do you have built-in patch management capability inside your platform? Yes or no?
In InsightVM?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I understand. Thank you so much.
No problem.
As I started each vendor, their focus on their core capabilities. And Rapid7 is focused on vulnerability management, and they are doing this very, very well. And Automox is focused on patching, and not only patching, but let's say patching, and they are very, very good in that. That's why it's better to be focused on what you can do better. Okay. Any other question? Mustafa, you finished the presentation, correct? Okay. So if anyone has any question and okay, Madeline, do you have any other question?
No, I don't have a skill.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll send you by email the recording of this webinar.